Now, related to direct versus indirect speech is the area of simple talk versus flowery or embellished talk, which I believe people from communal cultures will use again to build up and nurture the context around it. Recently, I was teaching a class of students from a communal culture, and I started asking them questions, and I had some specific questions. I just wanted to have the students give quick answers, but that wasn't easy. To give a quick, short answer is difficult in an indirect speech culture where flowery, embellished speech is important. So one of the students would stand up and adjust his position, again, greet the students, greet the teacher, and then he would introduce his talk and craft an ornate sentence to decorate his words around the point, and finally he would get to the point. The answer was very indirect, and it sure took a while to get to it. So I think this kind of embellished talk is part of an effort to build the relationship and the atmosphere and context around you. And of course, it perhaps is there to impress yourself and impress others with your ability of great speech. And then related to that is also exaggerated or repetitive speech, often used to stress or stretch the situation. I remember that professor that I mentioned before, and she would encourage us students to be bombastic in our talk and in our writing. And she used this little phrase, you got to kill the professor. And what she meant by that is you got to impress the professor with your illustrious speech and writing style, sort of like Cicero back in the Roman era. Use your rhetorical skill to influence the professor. Now, people from direct speech cultures emphasize exactly the opposite. In fact, after that, those university years there in Pakistan, I went to Toronto and I studied there, and there I actually had to unlearn that embellished style of speech. So people in direct cultures, direct speech cultures, they would say, you simply should state your mind, make the point, give the answer. You know, sort of the same way as the greetings. You know, just say hi, say hello, let your yes be yes and your no be no. And the short answer, I would say, certainly is not a time waster. And you immediately know where the person is coming from. You don't have to double guess what they're talking about. Yet at the same time, these short answers can come across very blunt and even cold. So again, it's important to pay attention to the context. That's what appreciating one another's cultures is all about. It's not that we reject our culture and then move totally to the other side, but that both sides pay attention to the other side and learn to adjust their approaches to develop harmony with each other. The direct, simple speech people, maybe they can learn to decorate their speech a little bit more. And then the indirect, flowery speech people maybe learn to speak simpler, shorter sentences and not repeat or restate so much. I remember doing a class in Ankara, Turkey, and so I had this illustration of the direct speech and then the indirect speech going all over the place. And these communal culture people who are indirect speech people, they were arguing, we need to speak directly. Now, so we try to see what would be the sort of an in-between area. So you take the direct and maybe bend it a little bit or move it and adjust it and so forth. So it may be not 100% point blank and not endless beating around the bush as this illustration shows. So here's another question. How important or how good is it to just be open with your thoughts, to tell it like it is? Should you share your personal feelings with someone else? So if you're upset, should you let the other person know that you're upset? Do we share everything? How much should we share? Now, a person from an indirect speech culture struggles with how to express their ideas with someone else if they feel that that other person might not agree with them. How can they say it in a roundabout way so the other person won't take offense and think negatively of what you want to say. Now, I think the more you go round about the bush or dance around, it can easily cause more misunderstanding. But then on the other hand, if you go too straight, it can also cause misunderstanding. So again, the question is, should we express our emotions or do we beat around the bush? Should we shoot straight, which is quite a military term and literally offensive and hurtful? Or do we use different types of words to cover what we feel and say it in a roundabout way? So here's another way to ask the question. Does being honest mean that I need to reveal details about myself? And so you want to speak according to the context and situation in which you are.